Hello everybody, my name is Becky Draper. I'm a Vedic astrologer and Ayurveda health coach, and I help people align with the rhythms and cycles in nature, which helps us create more balance, stability, and meaning and purpose in our daily lives. And today we are going to talk about the April transits. And so as always, I'm just going to go down my list, and let's start with the full moon in Virgo on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day. And this full moon is going to happen close to April 2nd as well. So we're going to be feeling this energy for a couple of days. And anytime we're looking at a full moon, we want to look at like the opposite sign, because that's the lesson cycle that we're working through. So the opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces. And so right now we are all working through a Pisces lesson cycle. And Pisces lesson cycles are all about letting go and surrendering. And then Virgo comes along to kind of show the like opposite, or like where the tug or the pull comes in. And this is where in Virgo we are like creating reality. We're organizing the material world, and we're organizing the details of the material world. And in the nakshatra of Hasta, which is like an actual hand, it's where we like literally manifest into the material world. And so when Pisces, we can get lost sometimes in like a dreamland, and we want to find that balance between surrendering and letting go and like not clinging to things, but also where we're able to create in reality and where we're able to manifest the material world, because that's what we're here for. We're here to create. And so this is also where we're like willing to do the hard work, and we're willing to get like our hands dirty and like get into it. And Pisces is more like where we're just completely wanting to let go and have nothing to do with it. And so we want to find that balance where we can live in the material world and engage with the material world, but also not cling to the material world. And so this is kind of that tension that reminds us like, no, we want to be a part of the material world, and we're finding that balance between our spiritual side of letting go and surrendering, and this like living in this earthly plane. And then also on that same day, we have Mars moving into Pisces. And Mars is a planet that when we're looking at Mars, it represents war, it represents our actions. And on a global level, we're going to see like the war that's happening right now become a lot more disillusioned, and people aren't going to really understand like what this war is really even about, and the governments in the war are not going to be communicating well. There's just going to be a bigger fog of war that takes place, and this is going to be amplified on April 10th when Mercury moves into Pisces and causes even more confusion, and just creating a space where there are like no winners. And Saturn's in Pisces, and so Saturn's going to create like a stalemate. Like there's gonna be nowhere to go, and nobody's gonna be able to get out of the current situation. And so when Mars is in Pisces, he's not as fired up, and so you're gonna see less of this like shock and awe and this war escalation that we've been seeing, and more of this just like long drawn out stalemate, like where nobody is getting anywhere. And then I made a longer video about this, but I talked about how we'll also see like an increase in potentially refugees and people losing their homes. And because Pisces is where we get lost, and Mars represents war, and Saturn represents the consequences of it. And so we're gonna see some of those consequences will be a lot of displacement. And then on April 10th, Mercury will move into Pisces, and so I talked a little bit about that just a second ago. But when Mercury is in Pisces, this is where Mercury is going to be confused and maybe fall for like falsehood. So this is going to make it a lot harder for us to decipher the truth. And it's already been difficult because Saturn's been in Pisces, breaking down reality and basically showing us that like a lot of the things that we thought were real were just illusions. And so then on top of that, we've had Jupiter in Gemini, and we are being faced with a lot of information, and it's either causing us to really question a lot of the things that we previously thought, and start to like accept that the world around us is completely different and we are entering into a new time. And then others of us will be resisting that transition. And so when Mercury's in Pisces, it's going to be a lot harder for us to really figure out where we fall in that category. We may fall for like falsehood. We may be more likely to be fooled. And we also may be more likely to speak our own falsehoods or be confused and speak from that place of confusion. And so this is a really important time to try and do your due diligence to get the best information that you can. And of course, I'll go into this a lot deeper in a longer video. And then on April 17th, we have the new moon in Aries in the nakshatra of Ashwini. And so this is the first zodiac sign, which is where we like have our new beginnings. It's a new start. And so it definitely shows that this is a great time to start something new. And if you are going to like launch a project, then this is a great time to do that. But you wouldn't actually do it on the exact date. You would want to wait 2, 3, 4 days later. So but this is like the time when it's perfect to start a new project. It's right in alignment with that new energy. It's also a great time to work on the garden and start your seeds. If it aligns with your season, just plant whatever seeds align with this time. And then Ashwini is the nakshatra where we have like come to fulfill our desires. And so it's kind of about that beginning place in our journey through, not only through the zodiac sign, but also through the 27 nakshatras. And they have their own deeper story. And the Ashwini part of the story is where we've come to like fulfill our earthly desires. And so we are here to have these earthly experiences. And a lot of it has to do with our own desires. And so it's a great place of manifesting. But on top of that, it talks about like, this is where the healing medicine of Ayurveda is. And this is like where the secret healing happens. And so it's also a sign of like healing and medicine. And so we may experience on like a global level where a new medicine, miracle medicine, could potentially come forward, or in your own lives, this is where we can tap more into that healing energy. It's the beginning of our like working through our health cycle as well. And so Ashwini is like that beginning space where we're starting our journey. And so this is again like a perfect time to start some things in your life that are important to you and that you're excited about, that you can nurture through the rest of spring and into summer, and then reap the rewards in the fall. And then lastly, we're going to talk about, on April 19th, we have a Mars-Saturn conjunction. And Saturn is the planet of karma and consequences, and Mars is the planet of action. And so when these two come together in Pisces during a time of war, we're going to see where it's like an end of a cycle, and we have to fulfill the consequences or that karmic debt back to the cycle. And this conjunction is going to force that to happen, and it's also going to create that stalemate in the war that I was talking about, where there's just nowhere to go, there's nowhere to move forward, there's nobody who can win. There is just a long drawn out problem that no one knows what to do with. And hopefully with this energy, all the governments are able to see that there is not going to be any winners, and maybe they can all decide to walk away as losers. But as we know, that rarely happens, and that's probably pie in the sky thinking. But ultimately, that is the only way that this war can end, is for everyone to eventually admit that they are all going to be losers. And so I'm going to leave that here, and I have more videos that go into depth of each of these different transits, so check those out as well. And if you want to get your Vedic chart done or interested in some Ayurveda one-on-one health coaching, then leave me a message and I will see you in the next video.